everybody. I hope you're all doing really well. Um, this is Liz Davis. I am a nutritionist and I specialise in digestive health for busy women. So I help busy women fix their really uncomfortable IBS symptoms, bloating, painful gut reflux, etc. Anything wrong with your digestion, we can take a closer look at with state-of-the-art testing and then look to bring things back into balance nicely for you with dietary and supplement upgrades. So today I was going to do a quick talk about carbohydrates, or carbs as they're known, because it's always an area which is very controversial, which can then be very confusing for you because you get so much conflicting advice all the time. Should you eat them? Shouldn't you eat them? Are they bad for you? Not bad for you? What about gut health? Are they good or bad for gut health? So I will come on to that in a little while. But what are carbs exactly? It's a term that's often bandied around. But what are they? Why do you need them? Well, basically, you're eating your carbs mainly to provide your body with energy. So your body uses a molecule called ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate. This is like an energy currency, and it fuels your energy, whatever you're doing. So you need to eat carbs, or sometimes fats, because fats can be broken down into energy as well, although it's not quite so easy for your body to do. Some people may disagree with that because some people do really, really well on a high fat, low carb diet. They find that very beneficial. I'll come on to that a bit more in a minute. But basically, your carbs you need to eat for fueling your body mainly with energy and ATP. So what are they then? What are you looking for in your diet which is going to give you carbs? Well, the sort of carbs you're going to find are simple sugars. So that's going to be sugar that you add to your food, brown sugar, white sugar, etc. Sprinkle it on top. Fruit juices, sweets, things like that are your simple carbs, or your simple sugars rather. Then you have got your starches. So your starches are like the starch molecules are longer chains of glucose. So you eat your carbs and then your starch foods, and then your body breaks those slowly down into energy for your body. So these are the healthiest carbs for you. You need to be. I know some people would disagree, but these are the kind of carbs you want to be eating if you're a carb eater, to fuel your body with energy in a nice slow way, provided that they are not highly processed or refined or anything like that. So the next sort of carbohydrate is fiber. So you need to eat plenty of fiber, because although your body doesn't absorb fiber, it goes through your digestive system and it feeds your bacteria. So it makes sure your bacteria are nice and thriving, and that you don't get constipation or any uncomfortable symptoms like that as well. So again, even though you're not absorbing it, it's still very, very important that you include it in your diet. So which sort of carbs do you need to avoid then? Well, you want to be avoiding, as a general rule, anything highly processed. So stuff like fizzy drinks, you don't want too many of those. Fruit juice, pastries, white things, anything made of white refined flours, or sugary breakfast cereal, white bread, anything white. So basically with white things, they've had all the beneficial part stripped from them, so they don't contain a lot of nutrient really. They've got no fiber in them, and they're going to hit your bloodstream very, very quickly. Basically as soon as you've chewed it, as soon as you've chewed the food, it essentially breaks down very rapidly into glucose and floods your system. So then you get this big release of insulin from your pancreas to bring it back down again. And when it comes down again, you end up, craving more high carbohydrate food. So you end up on this glucose roller coaster all day long, which is really, really bad for you. Best avoided at all costs. So what sort of carbohydrates should you eat then? So mainly focus on unrefined, unprocessed, whole foods, so whole vegetables, whole fruits, legumes such as lentils, chickpeas, things like that. Sweet potatoes are a great one, potatoes as well, and whole grain, rice and flours, etc. What, in a nutshell, you should be eating if you do eat carbs. So on that point then, what about the low carb diet? Some people do really, really well on low carb diets. They lose weight, they end up with more energy, and their life is just generally better if they're on, more low carb. A lot of conditions can be treated on a very low carb diet called a ketogenic diet. That's a whole other story. But basically, the fats are going to be broken down much more slowly than the carbohydrates, and it's a bit more labour intensive for your body to break them down. Some people find this very beneficial. I personally don't. I need to eat some carbohydrate, otherwise I feel dreadful. But other people do really well, as I say. So whatever floats your boat, really, what works for you. So if you're also, what's worth mentioning is what we see is, or science has been sort of demonstrating lately, is that people who do eat very low carb diets, their microbiome does take a bit of a hit. So, and not in a good way. So the bacteria balance can get out of whack quite easily with this kind of diet. If you're someone who suffers with their gut health, and you are eating a high fat, low carb diet, it may be worth something worth looking at for you. So the best diet really for gut health is always going to be more of a Mediterranean style diet. Plenty of whole grains, fruits, vegetables, as well as proteins and fats, etc. Lots of different coloured fruits and veg as well. So as a general rule then, you want your whole foods, unprocessed, fruits, veg, etc. are always going to be a good option for you. Now, if you're someone who is happy with their weight, no health concerns at all, then you're probably on the right track with the amount of carbs you're eating. The amount of carbs you need to eat is going to vary according to your activity levels, your age, etc., what your hormones happen to be doing at any particular time in life. So it's if your weight, for example, does start to go out of kilter, you're putting on weight, you don't know why, carbs can be an area to look at. So it's worth looking at the different kind of portion sizes that you're eating. It could be worth whittling it down a little bit for you, and but it's going to be unique to each individual. So what's good for the one person isn't necessarily good for the next person. So it's very unique and individual. So it's worth having a little bit of a mess about with that if your weight is not what you want it to be or anything like that. Okay, so that was a quick rundown then. What carbs are, why you need them. Some people don't seem to need very many of them. Some people need to eat a bit more. So worth messing about with them. And then just a quick outline of which ones to focus on and which ones to avoid. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. I will pop a link to my diary in the comments. I will try to remember to do it this week. I keep forgetting to do it. There's also some recipes there as well you can download, and you get, free instant access to those anytime. Okay, so I shall see you next time. Bye bye.